Welcome to What a Creep, the show with Margot Donahue and Sonia Mansfield talking about creeps from the past to the present.
This is your quick guide to the biggest creeps, jerks, assholes, and losers, the best of the worst.
From two nice ladies who want the world to be a little less creepy.
Welcome back to What a Creep. This is Margot Donahue, and my cohort in creepitude, as always, is the amazing Sonia Mansfield. Hey, Sonia.
Hee-haw, my friend.
Oh, you're breaking things up here. I love it. This is a Texas-sized creep we got going here, and I can't wait to get into it with y'all. See that?
I get it.
But let me just go through the rigmarole of what we go through. This is the podcast where we talk about creeps from the past to the present. You could find us on Facebook. You could like the Facebook page. You could try to reach out to us that way, but mostly we kind of ignore it. But good luck. That's mostly the place where people go to complain about our language. We use salty language in this show. Telling you right now, so you don't complain about it later. Yep. We also have a private Facebook group. We have 3 little questions you have to answer, and then you can join the group. And it's a really fun, cool place to hang out and be with other people that are railing against creeps. We also talk about non-creeps and things like that. Please join if you're on Facebook. We're on Twitter at CreepPod because somebody had What a Creep for 10 years and never used it.
Creep.
We're on Instagram at What a Creep Podcast. And we have an old-timey email, whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com. And if you would like some stickers and or you have suggestions for creeps and non-creeps, send them along that way, whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com. And Sonia, you have some news for us about the newsletter and the website.
Yes, the website is at whatacreeppodcast.com, and it's everything you ever wanted to know about our podcast, but we're afraid to ask. It has links to all of our past episodes, and there's a link to our merch shop where you could get t-shirts and tote bags and other fun things. My son was just wearing the face mask the other day, and he will testify they are very comfortable. I like those masks. Yeah, I like them very much. I am working on our newsletter for September. I am sorry, y'all. It is my fault that the newsletter hasn't been going out, but it is going to be happening, and I am really excited to be doing it because I love writing it. So look for it in your inbox every month. It is for Patreon subscribers.
Yes, and we have some new subscribers to our Patreon page, Sonia. Get ready. It's Mike, David, Sharon, Lara, Riona. I'm sorry, I'm not reading I'll do that again next week. Lisa and Jackie. I'm so sorry Radonna. I think that's Radonna and Jackie. Thank you all for joining our Patreon page. Yes, we put out bonus episodes there a couple of times a month. We just talk about stuff that we didn't talk about on the show, or we talk about things that are happening in the news. We share personal stories. We have drinks. We spill the tea. We get very salty there.
Very salty.
So just go to Patreon. Yeah. And look up What a Creep Podcast if you want to join. Or if you just want to leave us 5 stars in iTunes, that would be amazing. And if you want to even go that extra level and leave a review, woo! Thank you to Tim Yobo for doing just that.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Is there anything else we need to cover, or can we just dive right in today?
I think we could just jump right in.
In the 70s, Cullen Davis was one of the richest men ever charged for the crime of murder in the United States. He was so wealthy that he was able to outspend the entire state of Texas in his defense. His marriage to Priscilla Davis, the sexiest divorcee from Fort Worth, raised eyebrows along with their massive spending and open sexuality. He was said to be the inspiration for J.R. Ewing of the hit TV show Dallas. He was also allegedly a cruel, mean, and violent man behind the doors of their mansion. His acrimonious divorce from Priscilla made all the papers. In August of 1976, he was charged with murdering her 12-year-old daughter, her new boyfriend, and injuring 2 others, paralyzing one of them, by the way. He was tried several times for different crimes and always seemed to be able to buy his way out of trouble. In this episode, we will explain why he is a creep and try to bring some awareness to the true victims. Now, there's some trigger warnings here. murder, sexual assault, domestic abuse, and animal abuse. I'll give you an extra warning about that one, you guys. Just, forward like a minute or so if it's, but we got to tell the story. This is what really happened. My sources are the New York Times, Dallas Magazine, 4 articles from the Texas Monthly magazine, the book Texas Tragedy by Greg Brown, American Justice by A&E. I'll put that in the YouTube and the Facebook group. That's available. Texas Justice.
Yeah.
Starring Heather Locklear, Peter Strauss, and Dennis Franz. Part 1 of that movie is on YouTube as we speak right now. Poor Sonia. She only caught the first half. She has no idea what happened.
I don't know what happens, so the ending of this episode will be a surprise to me. No spoilers, you guys. No spoilers.
And lastly, CBS News 48 Hours, Season 30, Episode 19, Murder in the Mansion. All right, y'all.
I'm going to watch all of those, by the way, after we're done recording.
Well, I'll have them in the links.
Awesome.
Thomas Cullen Davis was born September 22nd, 1933 in Fort Worth. The fucker is still alive, by the way.
What?
Yeah.
Okay.
Born to an oil man and known as a hard ass, Kenneth Stinky Davis was a strict dad.
Really unfortunate nickname.
He wore it with pride. I guess was it Pigpen or is what his name in
That's
Charlie
right.
Brown? Yeah. Or he was also in the Grateful Dead. Anyway, he was a strict dad who had very high expectations for his 3 sons. He was a strict boss. He was known to call the men who worked for him boy, even though some of them were veterans of the Korean War. What a dick.
Oh, no.
Cullen, he had 3 sons. Cullen went by his middle name, and he was the middle child. Cullen married a very proper Christian woman named Sandra Masters in 1962. They went on to have 2 sons and seemed happy enough until one day he caught a glimpse of a 5'2" blonde on the tennis courts at the Fort Worth Country Club. Priscilla Childers was born on the wrong side of the tracks. That's what they say in every single one of those things. It just means she was born poor, by the way.
Yes.
Which is so shitty. She was born, look, it's not a crime to be born poor, for fuck's sakes. Anyway.
I was also born on the wrong side of the tracks.
Me too, by the way, yeah. This is, I should say, especially if you're outside this country, in Texas, there's a lot of what they call it old money. I know that's hilarious to people in other worlds because we're talking about 100 years maybe here.
Right.
But society in Texas is very stratified, and your name is everything. The country clubs you belong to, the people you hang out with, the charities that you're a part of, all of that is very, very important. And just the fact, by the way, Fort Worth versus Dallas, which is supposed to, I know people that there's like a rivalry with that. So I just kind of wanted to put that out there. Priscilla was born 1942 and did not grow up wealthy. She grew up poor. Her mom had married twice, and both men had deserted her. Her family moved between California and Texas, and she had to take care of her 3 siblings when her mom had to work or her mom was having problems. When Priscilla was 15, she was raped by a boyfriend, which caused her to go into a big depression. A year later, she married a Marine, a former Marine. That was when she was 16, and she left him because he was cheating on her. He basically just like, hey, I got a date, gotta go.
Oh, my gosh.
And she was pregnant at the time.
Oh, cool.
But she left him. And she moved back home with her mom, and she had her daughter, D-E-E. After that split, Priscilla met used car dealer Jack Wilburn, and she quickly married him. They moved to Fort Worth, where he made a decent living. She did get caught shoplifting in 1961. She stole a $70 sweater and then kind of talked her way out of it. She did pay post bond and later paid a fine. It's the only thing she's ever been sort of even charged with. They're going to allege a lot of stuff about her in this story, but seriously, that's the one crime that I could find.
Right.
That she's like the police anybody caught her. Okay. After having a son and a daughter with Jack Jr. and Andrea, very important, Andrea, they just started drifting apart. And she got married really young. And then by the time she's like 25, 26, she's like, where's my life? Where was my youth? And she's sort of itching for a more fun relationship. And they do make enough money that she can belong to the local country club. people kind of make a thing like, oh, he met her in a bar or something. She met her at the country club.
Yeah. Ooh la la.
The sparks between them apparently were just off the chain. He was very, very confident. Of course, he was wealthy, but he had a lot of confidence, and he just was completely smitten with her. And she was super duper sexy. She had big blonde hair. She always got really deep tans, and she'd wear white so the tan would show off.
Yeah.
Tiny waist, just wore high heels, a lot of pink. Just a vixen. She was really cute. And Heather Locklear played her in the movie, by the way.
I was just going to say, there's a reason they picked Heather Locklear, because she's hot stuff.
She was smoking hot. They both say they were separated or on a break from their partners, their spouses. Who knows? But that's what they say. They have an affair. It's heating up. And one day, Jack hires a private detective to follow them, and he finds them in a motel room. In the TV movie, it's like they're naked in bed and they're taking pictures and it's whole thing. In real life, she had like food poisoning and she was in the bathroom and he was just sleeping on the bed. Not very sexy stuff.
Not as sexy.
No, but Jack's father, Cullen's father, who Stinky, said, look, you got to marry this woman. This is ridiculous. You can't be doing this. Either break it off with her or marry her, but you can't be fooling around with a woman like that. And they did get married. And at first, they had fun. Oh, by the way, Stinky died the day they were married. It just happened that way. They picked that day, and he died. And when they got back from their honeymoon, they found out that Stinky had left Cullen $100 million. Just $100 million in 1969, people.
He was, wait for it, stinking rich.
I didn't even think of that. Bada bing, bada boom. That was good.
Thank you.
That's stupid money for 1969, 1970.
For sure.
And they spent it from day one. Stinky was he's a man that pinched pennies and didn't send the kids to camp. He's like, we got a big ranch. You can go there. He didn't spend a lot of money on clothes. He was just kind of a skinflint.
No, because he was stinky.
He was stinky. He was just kind of Cullen was like, we're going to spend this like it's going out of style. They bought a private plane. They spent millions, and I do mean millions, in art, furniture, trips, jewels. Her favorite necklace was a diamond necklace that spelled out the words rich bitch.
I love it.
That's who she was, man.
That is hilarious.
I would be friends with that person in a second, by the way.
I would too.
Yeah. They would fly to New York City on their private jet and buy out an entire showroom. He dropped $3 million in one day.
That is so much money.
They just couldn't spend it fast enough.
He's got like serious, like big T energy.
Yes.
Big Texas energy.
Yep. Well, a bigger thing was Cullen wanted a mansion for his bride, and there was no way they were going to just buy a house. They were going to have a house built. So they found a place in Fort Worth. They found a space, an area. It's 140 acres. And he spent $6 million building Stone Gate Mansion. It had 5 bedrooms, 11 baths. Can you imagine cleaning that? Or heating or cooling that would just be, oh my God.
So fascinating. 5 bedrooms, but 11 bathrooms.
Yeah, I would thought it would be reversed. But no, that's exactly, an indoor pool, which must be sweet when it's hot because it gets hot out there. A couple suite that was 2,000 square feet. It had tennis courts, underground passageways, and top-of-the-line security system. In their foyer, where they would just sort of drink and be right by the fireplace, they had an 11-foot high painting by an artist named Wayne Ingram. This just gives you an idea of how big and flashy this house was. On top of all of that, they both were the first in their circle to get serious plastic surgery. Priscilla got silicone breast implants. They were the first seen in Fort Worth. She went to Europe to get it done.
Wow.
And he got a little mini lift, little facelift. People thought at first they were an odd couple, and then they were like, oh, I get it, because she was an exhibitionist and he was a voyeur. they seemed to go together, like rice and beans. Like,
Yeah.
She wore mini skirts. She was flamboyant. He loved to watch her walk. He loved to watch people react to her. It was just a big thing for his ego. He didn't get jealous over stuff. Like, he was totally into it. Her favorite color was pink, of course.
Of course.
They had a skybox at the Dallas Cowboys stadium, and she had it painted all pink.
Damn. That's amazing.
There's nothing quiet about this woman.
No.
Which is funny. He never expressed jealousy, but he did not respect her mind. He was very much a male chauvinist. He just wanted her to do what he wanted to do. I'm going to pay you the lifestyle. You just keep your mouth shut and be a showpiece for me.
Yeah. Trophy wife.
Trophy wife. While on vacation in Mexico, Priscilla said he once propositioned that they join a sex club and have a threesome on stage, but they both backed out of it. His work style went from being very quiet and obedient, keep your head down, do what the boss tells you to do, to being openly defiant of his brothers, and they thought he was spending money recklessly. You think?
You think?
Pretty soon, 10-year-old Andrea and teenager Dee were living at the house. I couldn't get any intel about Jack Jr. They only focused on the daughters. I don't know if he stayed with his dad or not. This is where the shit gets dark, by the way, so buckle up.
Yes.
Priscilla said to many, many people that soon after marrying Cullen, that he had a violent temper and he regularly berated and beat her. She knew he had a bad temper. He once beat a pearl-handled pool stick against a curb to pieces because he lost some pool match. She said he hit her with his fists many times in their marriage. He broke her collarbone, and he broke her nose twice. This is what she said.
Oh my gosh.
If she ever showed any signs of jealousy, him looking at other women, he would take her home or to their hotel room, and he would beat her and kick her until he ran out of energy. When she was recovering from a ski accident, she said he once beat her with the crutches.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. He's got a terrible temper. Terrible temper. Andrea and Dee knew about the beatings, and they both felt uncomfortable staying at the house and uncomfortable around him because he just had this temper. Like once it was triggered, he was just this nightmare. Ugh. Okay. One night, Cullen dragged Dee out of bed. She was like maybe 16 at the time. And he screamed at her for not locking the front door properly. They did have like special security. And she got a little sassy with him and kind of like, well, who's going to buy our crap anyway? He hit her and broke her nose.
Fucking asshole.
She's screaming. He's screaming. Priscilla wakes up, goes and tries to intervene. And in the meantime, she's holding Dee's kitten.
Aww.
Yeah, I'm going to fast forward really quick, but
yeah,
some of you guys, but he threw the kitten on the floor and killed it. Now, in
psycho.
The A&E documentary, they ask him, did you punch Dee in the face? Did you kill this cat? And he goes, yeah, that's not right. I don't feel good about that. But she was smarting her mouth off at me. So what are you going to do? He admitted it.
Yeah, he's a fucking asshole.
Yeah. In 1974, she had just had it. They've been married for about 5 years at this point, and they separate, and Cullen moves into a hotel. They both start dating other people. Priscilla fell in love with a former basketball player named Stan Farr, who was 6'9".
Damn.
She's 5'2".
Oh my gosh, that is so tall. Okay.
Ridiculously tall. He was a bar owner in Fort Worth. She felt very safe around Stan.
Yeah.
Because he was big and he was an athlete. He was a big, but everybody says he was a big teddy bear, and he was completely besotted with her. Well, she and Cullen argued about their settlement. She wanted $50 million in the mansion. He didn't want to give her that much, and he wanted to keep the mansion for himself. They were dating their peeps. He was dating a woman named Karen Master, who was also very pretty blonde. They were seen at the country clubs together. They wanted to get married, and he had promised to adopt her sons. This was going to be her second marriage. And at the meantime, Stan and Priscilla moved in together in the mansion. Stan moved into the mansion, and they were planning their future. And here we are. It's the summer of 1976. The divorce is dragging out, and Priscilla was worried that Cullen was going to get violent with her and Stan. She hired bodyguards. She had her security system checked frequently. On August 2nd, 1976, they meet in court, and the judge has Cullen pay more in alimony and also tells him he has to give her over $50,000 in lawyers and expenses for the upkeep of the house. He was not happy about this. Priscilla was psyched, but she was also worried because she was dealing with major health issues. The doctors had found 2 lumps in her left breast, and so they had to do lumpectomies.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's scary.
Assumed he was pissed that he had to pay the money, but he kind of kept close to the vest.
Yeah.
Priscilla and Stan decided to go out and celebrate that night. Andrea was home alone. She's 12 at this point. But they had a security system in place. And when I was 12, my parents left me alone. It just was a different time.
Oh, for sure.
You know, we were latchkey kids. Yeah. It's a big, big mansion. There's a huge security system, and she just felt safe. Like, they were like, oh, we're just going to go out for a few hours. What happens next is what makes for this big mystery. In Priscilla's story of the events, and by the way, she has 2 witnesses that back her up, but I'll explain it as I go. They were home by 12:30, and they noticed the security was off. So Stan went in first to investigate the house, and Priscilla then saw a person dressed in all black, wearing a black wig with a gun, and it was Cullen. And she said he looked at her and said hi, and then shot her in the chest.
Oh my gosh.
Stan hears this and comes running back towards the room. I think it was in the kitchen. Cullen turns around and shoots him 4 times. While he's trying to drag Cullen away, she runs out of the house. And Stan just dies right next to her. Mm-hmm. It happens right next to her. She runs out of the house, and then he follows her. Cullen follows her. And he grabs her arm, and she's like, and she's bleeding, and she's, freaked out. And she says, look, I love you. I've never loved anybody else. Let's talk this out. She's trying to reason with him.
Yeah. She doesn't want to be killed.
Doesn't want to get killed. And she's thinking in the moment, smart. And he drops her arm, and he goes back into the house. And right then, another car pulls up. And it's Dee's friend, Beverly Bass. Beverly and her boyfriend, Bubba. This is the South. Bubba Gavril. They thought Dee was home, so they were like coming by to say, like, hey, you want to go party? You want to do something? And as they walk into the house, that's when realizes that there's something going on at the mansion. Like, she could tell something's happening. Priscilla's running into the bushes to hide. Cullen shoots Gavril straight on, and he becomes paralyzed.
So sad.
Shoots at Beverly and Priscilla, and they run for help. And they're knocking on neighbors' doors, and they're saying, Cullen, please, Cullen's going crazy. But Beverly and Priscilla, they're saying, Cullen did this, please call. And the people were like, yeah, I'm not letting you in, because they don't know what's going on, but they call for police and ambulance. I mean, you got to be safe. What Priscilla was wearing was a long, long denim skirt. It went down to her ankle. And what she had done with her skirt is that she pulled it up and wrapped it around her chest like a tourniquet to try to control the bleeding as she's running. And the police first see her, and they don't know what's going on. She's explaining things to them, and then she pulls down her skirt and shows them, and that's when they realize she's bleeding.
Oh my gosh.
And she was very calm, like, as she's talking to the police. She's like, look, Cullen's trying to kill us. You got to take me to the hospital. You got to find my daughter. I don't know what happened to Andrea.
Yeah, I'm sure she was in shock.
And she was in shock. And then she's just trying to get in survival mode. I mean, she'd probably been through so much shit in her life. She was just in, he'd freaked out before. She was in.
Yeah.
So turns out not only was Stan killed that night, but also 12-year-old Andrea.
It's fucking monster. He's such an asshole.
Psycho. She was found in the basement, and she was shot at point blank range in her chest.
That poor kid.
Oh. She must have been terrified.
Yeah. And she knew it was him too.
Yeah.
And that's the part that, like, this is awful.
Once again, it's Priscilla, it's Beverly, and it's Bubba. They all say to the police, Cullen Davis did this. You need to get Cullen. The following day, very early in the morning, Cullen's brother Ken calls him and says, hey, do you know the police are looking for you? And he tells Cullen, like, yeah, there's been a shooting at the mansion. And Cullen basically said, yeah, I'm going to go back to sleep now. He goes back to sleep, and the cops come by. Karen, his girlfriend. She says that he was with her last night, but I took a sleeping pill, so I don't remember anything. The police allowed Cullen to get dressed, not only get dressed, but put on a suit and jacket and put handcuffs on him, but allowed them to put the handcuffs past the cuff sleeve so that it didn't look like he was wearing handcuffs. They allowed him to look presentable.
Yeah, privilege.
Privilege. He's the richest person in town. They take him to the police station and they're told, we're accusing him of killing 2 people and shooting 2 others. And the judge puts a whopping $80,000 bond, which he pays in a check. And they
literally
send him home.
has, yeah, right? He like has
It's
that money
chump
on
change.
him. I know.
It's chump change. It's nothing. Now, what happens next in the courts is the stuff of legend. He hires a defense attorney. His name is Racehorse Haynes. Stephen, I think it's Racehorse Haynes. It's like everybody just calls him Racehorse Haynes. He was a defense attorney, and his whole thing was, I don't care if they're guilty or not. You pay me enough, and my job is to just go in front of a jury and present your case.
I hate these people. Oh my God. I hate people that, okay, sorry. Go ahead.
You're allowed a defense in our country.
I know.
But he has a bigger budget than the entire state of Texas. Remember this. The trial begins in 1977. It's 3 months. And let me say this. They don't have any physical evidence. They don't have his fingerprints. They don't have the wig. They don't have the gun. It's all eyewitness testimony.
Mm-hmm.
Their strategy was A, B, C, anybody but Cullen.
Yeah.
And you're not supposed to have to come up with an alternate reason why a crime happens, technically.
Yeah, it's just reasonable doubt, right?
Right. But a defense attorney will often come up with 2 or 3 theories, and that's just enough to confuse a jury and then have them say, okay, well, Priscilla shows up. This woman lost her 12-year-old daughter and her boyfriend of 2-3 years. He puts her on the stand for 11 days. She'd been through surgeries.
Jesus.
11 days. And for 11 days, Priscilla was painted as a whore, a druggie who brought this on herself. He basically had her admit that she had had some parties at the house. He brought on witnesses that said, like, oh, they had sex parties and orgies there. That Stan was a drug dealer and this was a drug deal gone bad. It's like throwing everything on the wall.
Yeah. Imagine losing your child and then sitting on the stand and basically let them paint a picture of the things you did that made this happen.
She said that her daughter's name was barely mentioned the entire trial.
That's
which is the most fucked up thing. Like, she's like, I can take it, but, you know, you should at least think of my daughter. She was just a kid. One time she showed up in court in a pink suede suit, and she was mocked for wearing suede in the summer. This is just the shit she had to put up with. And the idea was that, well, if she lies about the parties and the drugs, she's also probably be lying about this. That's the whole thinking that, you know, this is how you confuse a jury. Cullen's lawyers held regular press conferences. And by the end of the trial, he was so famous because this was on the nightly news. It made national news. He was signing autographs by the front door of the courtroom.
People are fucked up.
The judge did not stop this. The district attorney tried to get them to stop signing autographs, and they didn't stop it. The defense claimed that Stan was the real target and that the rest was just a mistake. And because there's no physical evidence of Cullen doing it, and because Racehorse Haynes besmirched her character to the point that people were like, I don't even care what happens to her. I just find her. This is, 40, 50 years ago, you have to think. And this is in the South, very proper place. Like, this woman acting like a floozy is just, it's not going to win people over. It's a reason to judge a person.
Yeah.
And no physical evidence of Cullen doing it. So the jury only took 4 hours to deliberate, and they let him off.
It's such bullshit.
Years later, the DA found out that one of his investigators on the case was on the take for racehorse. So he was finding out information.
Right. Not surprising.
Not surprising that happens.
You can't trust a guy named Racehorse? Damn.
He's fascinating. If you go to Texas Monthly and just type in Racehorse Haynes, there's all kinds of stories about him. I love it. I mean, he did his job well. What am I trying to say? Like, I do believe in our defense and in our justice system. I just think, like, I don't know, he could live with himself. He could sleep at night. All right.
I guess.
You know, you're doing your job. You're getting paid.
He goes to sleep on his giant pile of money.
Yeah, wipes his tears and his fears with money, with rolled up $100 bills. In 1978, Cullen was arrested again, this time for hiring an assassin to kill Priscilla and the judge overseeing their divorce. This time, the police department's like, all right, we're going to work with the FBI and we're going to do this by the book and we're going to record everything and we're going to get him. The undercover cop taped everything. He posed as an assassin, as a killer. Went to Cullen, recorded him saying, yeah, I want you to kill Priscilla. I want you to kill this person and that person. They took a judge, one of the people that was on his list. That judge posed with a T-shirt and with some ketchup packets exploded on the back of him to look like blood in the trunk of his car. And they showed this picture to Cullen's like, look, we took out the judge today.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was like, once again, Cullen hires Racehorse Haynes. And Racehorse hires a linguistic expert, which is the first time this is done in a trial in America. The linguistic expert takes that tape and, God damn it, he plays it for the jury. And it's like, this shows you that he actually wasn't involved. This shows you that he didn't know what was going to happen. He was just going along with this guy just to, I don't know, but he didn't order these deaths. He didn't order anything. This is not proof of anything. And this time people are like, And the first time that they went to court with this, it was a hung jury. But the second time, he was acquitted.
Oh my God. People don't even trust their own ears.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome.
In 1979, he married Karen and he adopted her 2 sons. By the way, they said he's a great guy. He's not violent. We've never had a problem with him. I don't question that. I think somebody can have a completely different relationship with one person and versus another one.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'd say maybe he's like 10 years after all that. He's mellowed out a bit. Who knows? He won back the mansion.
Wow.
From Priscilla. And he got a divorce decree that he only had to pay $3 million for the divorce. Like, that was her payout. She wanted 50.
Yeah.
$3 million is nothing to sneeze at, but she was like, fuck it, fine. I'll just figure out a way to live on this.
Yeah, and she probably just wants that monster out of her life.
Yeah, she wants it over with. I mean, look how much she lost.
I know. That's so sad.
Yeah. Cullen lost his fortune in the 80s. It was to recessions and bad investments. Yes. And the oil business tanked in the 80s. Like, all those people that thought they were going to make money forever from it. Mm-hmm. At one point, he and Karen became born-again Christian. Now, before they were leaving before I told you he had millions and millions of pieces of artwork in his house. And it was like jade sculptures and portraits and all kinds of things. He and Karen became born-again Christians and decided that all that stuff was for pagans.
Oh.
So they got rid of that artwork, all of it, by burning it on their lawn.
Oh.
He didn't sell it. He didn't donate it to the museum because he thought it just needed to be destroyed.
That's lame.
It's bananas.
That's weird. That doesn't even sound like the same person because he was so greedy.
Yeah, no, he completely changed. Apparently, he and Karen lived a much smaller life. They lived in a little town near Fort Worth. He started selling lotions and creams and things like that. He just did that for a living. He's 87 now. Priscilla,
that is weird. This is not where I thought this story was going.
He completely, but every few years people do interviews of him and they'll say things like, well, you're a born again Christian. Shouldn't you confess? And he's like, nah, I'm good. I don't have to confess anything. Nah.
Why would he do that? He's not going to do that.
He's like, no, that's not how it works. I'm not going to do that. He's not going to do that. 87. He's still alive.
Jeez.
Priscilla's
Life's unfair. Life's unfair.
Oh, wait till you hear. Priscilla's daughter, Dee, she had a hard time with drugs after losing her sister and her all that happened.
Yeah.
She was serving time in jail and found out she was pregnant. Priscilla took care of the baby 5 days after she was born and raised her granddaughter.
Oh.
She gave her granddaughter her name, so Priscilla raised Priscilla. Very soon after she was born, this is the 80s, let's talk about here, but it turns out the baby was biracial and very dark-skinned, which nobody knew she had a black boyfriend, basically.
Right.
It was a big deal at the time. People were making comments. And when baby Priscilla grew up a little bit, she went to her mom and said, "Am I black?" And she told her, "You can be anything you want to be." That was her answer.
I don't see color.
No, exactly. But, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
She had some hard times in the end. She went through the money. She lived in a 1-bedroom apartment in Dallas. She often hung out in nightclubs that were gay nightclubs. Like, the gays loved her. They believed her story. She felt safe and comfortable around them. These were men she could feel like she could be herself around, and she's going to be okay. When asked if she would ever remarry, she would say, "I'm like the Statue of Liberty. No one wants to pay the upkeep, but everyone wants to say they were there." I think it's funny. They've been there. Sadly, in 2001, she died from breast cancer at the age of 59.
Dang, that's young.
Stan Farr's children filed a suit against Cullen, and they won. And they won $250,000. He didn't pay it. They had to go back and try to get it from him again, and he had filed for bankruptcy. So they got no money. They didn't get any money, even though they had a civil judgment. And he just like, I'm not paying that.
Such a dick.
He is. Priscilla's son, Jack Wilburn Jr., he died of a drug overdose at 47.
Aww.
He was found on a park bench in Arlington, Texas, and they didn't know who he was for 6 months.
Oh, my gosh.
They had been buried, and then Dee had found out about it, and then she gave him a proper burial. Ugh. In 2016, Cullen's wife, Karen, died. Due to natural causes, it looks like it was organ failure.
Oh, okay.
Dee Davis died in a car accident last June. She was 61.
Gosh.
I know. All these people.
I know. They were so broken after what happened.
Yeah.
That's so sad for them.
Bubba Gravel, he was the one that was paralyzed.
Yes.
He did marry Beverly, and they had kids. He died in 2018 from pancreatic cancer. Fuck cancer.
Fuck cancer.
Cullen had paid him some money back in the day for his injuries in exchange that he would never testify against him or speak to the press about him.
Huh.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's a thing you can do? That sounds like bribery.
It's what like the NDAs and shit like that. Mm. The 19,000 square foot mansion has gone through several changes over the years. It was a steakhouse. It was a sushi place. It was a venue for weddings and special events. Rumors are out. Every few years there's a rumor that they're going to tear it down. Someone's going to buy it and tear it down. You can get it for the cheap price of $1.6 million. Once again, he paid $6 million for it 50 years ago.
I don't want to get married where this fucking asshole murdered people.
People are weird.
People are weird.
That's our creep this week, Sonia. Cullen Davis.
What a good job, Margot.
Thank you.
What a fucking creep.
Yeah.
Such an asshole.
If he did nothing but hurt that cat, that's enough for me.
Seriously, I agree.
But he didn't.
What a dick. I feel really bad for that poor girl. Yeah. Everybody involved. And I need to watch part 2.
I know. See if it's on DVD, baby. It'll be worth it.
Yeah, maybe. I'll look it up. I have a different kind of not a creep for us. So I was thinking about Texas, and Texas has been dealing with a lot, like everybody, right? But the state in particular was hit with like a massive storm earlier this year that knocked out their power. 210 people died because of that storm. I mean, some people literally froze to death while some of their leaders, like Senator Ted Cruz, were like getting on planes to Cancun. And then they start to recover from that. And now they're being hit with like massive heat waves. And they're being asked not to use their air conditioners for fear that it'll knock out power. And they've got this governor who's also like against mask mandates. COVID is burning through that state. And by the way, he has COVID, but he's still like, yeah, don't wear masks. He's a real piece of work. So I thought maybe it would be good to share some links on how we can help the people of Texas with some stuff.
I love that.
And I'm going to we're going to put all the links in the show notes. So you could donate to any like Texas Food Bank, or there's another organization. It's called Feeding Texas. It's just a hunger relief organization. It works with like 21 food banks throughout Texas, and they're feeding like over 5 million Texans annually. There are these mutual aid groups. So it's like Mutual Aid Houston, Austin Mutual Aid, and Feed the People Dallas. And they provide shelter and food and other supplies to families in need. I also wanted to say animals need help too. So there's Austin Pets Alive. It's a nonprofit shelter. They are always looking for donations and supplies so that they can keep the animals safe during this crazy weather, whether it's like super hot or super cold. There's a Facebook group for that too. I'll put that link in there. And then there's also the Austin Area Urban League, and it's a civil rights organization. And they also provide a lot of residents with emergency shelter and food and clothing and other supplies. And Texas is also facing really strong anti-voting rights laws. If you want to donate to Democratic candidates, there's a very strong working its way through Texas right now that would make it really hard for people to vote. It's unconstitutional, I think. A Democratic member of Congress there would not approve these things. So maybe if you want to, donate to like Act Blue and things like that, you could do that too. But I think these are great ways to help Texas.
Sonia, I love that. I love it when we have action items. What you do is you could either just go to whatacreeppodcast.com and find this episode. The links will be there. They'll be in the Facebook group for the post. They're also on, if you're listening on your phone, you just swipe the artwork and you should be able to go to the links there.
Yeah.
I think that's how it works. But
yeah,
they'll be in our show notes. So thank you so much for doing that.
Of course, I'm going to go donate to the Austin Pets Alive organization after we are done recording.
That's our show this week. And if you like the sound of our voices, and why the hell not? We're awesome. We also co-host a show called Dorking Out. Sonia, what are we going to be dorking out about this week?
In September, Margot and I are actually going to meet in person in Chicago. So we're going to be watching a whole bunch of Chicago movies in September. And we're going to start with The Fugitive.
Yay!
And I haven't seen The Fugitive in a while. I know it's like one of Margot's faves, and she's seen it a lot. So I think we're going to have a really good conversation about it. I'm excited. I love me some Harrison Ford.
Who doesn't?
So much. One of my forever crushes. So I'm really looking forward to that one. It's going to be good.
That's called Dorking Out. You can follow us on all of our social media channels. We love it when you use the gif of Annie Potts in Ghostbusters saying we got one when you have a suggestion for a creep or a non-creep, or come up with something on your own that's clever. We love that too. When you guys just think of something we never thought of or show us something we've never seen before. It's exciting. And Sonia, where can they find you?
You can find me at thesoniashow.com and The Sonia Show on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok, where I mainly make videos about my dogs. And where can people find you, Margot?
You can find me on social media at Brooklyn Fitchick, mostly for Twitter and Instagram. My site is brooklynfitchick.com. In the meantime, everybody, drink water, put on sunscreen, sit by a fan or an air conditioner if you can. And don't be a creep.
Creep! Thank you for listening to us talk about creeps. You can follow us at What a Creep Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
But don't follow us too closely.
You can email us your creepy stories at whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com.
But please keep your dick pics to yourself.